there we go. It's the intro brought to you by our friend Marty DeListra. You got to listen to it. It's called The Music. Absolutely get you fired up for Offside Hockey Talk. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Lots to go into in Leafland. Lots to wrap up from last week as well. Obviously now 1 week removed from Canada beating the USA. Go Canada, go. Let's go Canada. Yes, newsworthy right there. And why do I say that? Well, if you were watching CBC's The National, you might have seen this mug right here live on your TV screen. You might have seen our guys at the table all game long getting pumped up, obviously having some of the golden elixir to help cheer on Team Canada as well. It was a great time, had a blast doing a couple of interviews talking about the house that Sid and Nate built. Absolutely awesome to be a part of that and having some fun. Now we get into the good parts. Obviously, Team Canada picking up that victory over the United States. I said 4-3. It was 3-2. It didn't matter. It was Mr. Mitchell Marner, who everybody was on all tournament long, coming up clutch with 2 big assists, and then Mr. McDavid winning it for Team Canada in overtime. We don't need to recap that. We know what happened. The better nation won the game that we claim our own, which is the game of hockey. But again, check out The National. Go watch the clips. It was absolutely fun. If you haven't seen them, got one posted up on TikTok. I'll throw the other one up as well. But to our Maple Leafs, we come back, and all of a sudden this team again has won 3 in a row. They come win the 2 games on the weekend, and they win the game against Boston, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But I did say for this team going into this week, the week that was, if you watched the video, I wanted a clean sweep. You have the Boston Bruins, the New York Rangers, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. No disrespect to any of those teams, but they are not having what you would call banner seasons by any stretch of the means. So this is an opportunity for the Maple Leafs as a team to take some downed opponents and really ramp their game up and take a stranglehold on that first position in the Atlantic Division, especially with a team like Florida that now has Mr. Tkachuk on the sidelines after the antics in the Four Nations Cup. So it gives the Maple Leafs that opportunity to do what they need to do against some teams, like I said, that are not having the seasons that they expected to be having. So for me, I look and say, okay, what do we need to do here? We need to get rolling against a team like Boston. And for me, where you have the trade deadline right around the corner and you need to show your upper management, hey, this is a year, this is a squad that you can believe in, that we can pick up victories, that we can come from behind, stick to the structure, and get the job done. The game against Boston, again, I know, downed opponent, not as high in the standings as they usually are, but still a team that Toronto, no matter what the situation, has trouble defeating, especially when it comes to playing in Boston. We all know what happens. We've all been there. We've all seen it. No one can say they haven't. But you go into Boston, you're down 3-0 in hostile territory, and you come back and you pick up the victory. Character win. You got a guy like Anthony Stolarz stealing the show to keep it where it was and to be able to allow this team to come back and get it done. Again, depth scoring is definitely a factor here for this squad. Liking to see the Nick Robertsons and the Pontus Holmbergs of the world get goals. But for me, there's a guy that I really want to see get off the schneid, and that is Max Domi. A lot of people including him in a bunch of deals to see him out of town. I'm sorry. He's not going to be included in any package unless it's something huge coming back to the Toronto Maple Leafs. But that victory to me is a character win. That victory is a win. It's if you're a player, you can sit there and say, hey, listen, this squad is one to believe in. This one is where you push all the chips to the center and let's go for a ride. Bring in the hired guns and let's get it done. A la the early 2000 Maple Leafs, who would seem to get every old or aged guy to come into this lineup and try to propel them forward and onto a run. So I'm looking now and saying, hey, this team, do you want to go get a Mikko Rantanen? Do you want to go get the Jens? What do you want to do? We'll talk more about trades down the line. but a character win like this, where you come back from 3 down in a barn that is giving you bloody nightmares, to me screams for a team that you want to hitch your wagon to and start adding the assets and making this squad even better. So I love what I've seen there. Now, I touched on Nick Robertson for a moment. Listen, I have been a guy that has steadily beat the drum for Nick, saying this guy has the opportunity. He has the shot. He needs to use the opportunity. Hell, he needs to be put in the right position to do what he needs to do. Well, for whatever reason, he has stepped up and figured it out here coming off the Four Nations and really started to put the puck in the net, but also play with a little tenaciousness, hitting along the boards. He's not the biggest guy, but he's trying to figure it out physically to make sure he's still a part of this lineup. And no longer is he talking about wanting to be traded. No, he wants to be a part of the Craig Berube system. And he has guys like Simone Benoit and Craig Berube trying to work with him on his physical game to allow him to be in better positions and maybe even positions to give, not only receive hits, so that way he can tuck and roll a la Mitch Marner or other guys. But when you have teammates willing to go to bat for you to help you in those situations and bring your game to that next level, which we all want to see out of Nick Robertson here in Toronto, nowhere else. We want to see it here. Obviously, you want homegrown talent that can score. And I know there's some people, I'm not even going to name them, on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, saying, hey, don't get fooled. Don't get lulled into the fact it's a 1 week thing. Hey, if he can continue to be hot down the stretch, you think Bobby McMahon down the stretch last year, or you think of Ryan Reaves, guys who really turned it on after the break last year, I'm thinking Nick Robertson might be one of those players. Pontus Holmberg we'll talk about in a second too, but I'm sticking with Nick because he's putting the puck in the net, but he's also looking to be a bit of a firecracker and get things done. Now, is he going to be the guy that chirps you or gets you in your face or throws the hit along the boards or all that stuff? No. But is he going to be a guy that's going to pick his spots, maybe get a little lick in if he can, and then fire that cannon of a shot that he has coming down the wing? Yeah. That's what we're going to see out of Nick Robertson. That's what they want to see out of Nick Robertson. He has a lethal shot. So if he has the opportunity, he's got to start to use it. And I think coming off the Four Nations, there must have been a lot of conversations with players and different things to get his game maybe in gear and ready to roll. It's not far off to say that maybe he's got 9 more tucks in him, and the guy ends up being a 20-goal scorer here for the Maple Leafs, along with the likes of McMahon and Nyes. You know, you start adding that little bit of punch and chemistry. I'm not mad to see Nick Robertson a part of this lineup come the playoffs, no matter what some people may think. When you have a hunger within to get something done, maybe he finally has that and the will to want to roll. One guy that I will not be fool's golded on, and that is Pontus Holmberg. I love the fact that he's scoring goals, and I love the fact that he's bringing a little extra right now since the Four Nations break. That's great. I've been steady detractor on his face-off abilities in key situations. He does not get that job done. And that is a guy in your bottom 6 that you want to see have that ability to be able to take his game to that next level and win those key face-offs in the dot and get things done. Also, possession metrics to me, I don't care what any chart says, he makes a lot of bad passes. And it really burns. And I know people are going to say, what about Max Domi? We're talking about Pontus Holmberg right now. And this is a guy that, to me, is going to be a replaceable player when you do start to make those trades that we'll talk about here shortly. Pontus Holmberg, for me right now, it's a fool's gold situation. People are pointing at Nick Robertson for that. I say, no. It's Pontus Holmberg. Again, happy that he's scoring, happy that he's finding his place, happy that he's getting a little bit of a rub and roll here with the Maple Leafs, with Willy Nylander and such. But for me, he's not going to be that guy. And I know Craig Berube has consistently said that Pontus Holmberg has another gear, has more in him, can give more to this team. But to me, I'm not here for the experiments right now. You know, if he's a good placeholder for right now till you make your moves for the deadline, absolutely fine. If he's scoring and productive and can really maybe outscore his own problems, I'm all for it. But right now, this guy to me is a placeholder where there are bigger and better things coming to this lineup. And I know Craig Berube really wants to see this guy succeed for whatever reason he may have. But for me, Pontus Holmberg is not it. And maybe even a guy that I would include in a package as an NHL body to a team that is unloading players and looking to either get younger or just, get some cap space. He may be the guy going that way. And for me, that's not a problem. We have plenty of guys in our system that you can call up and bring around and do these things. You look at the Max Pacioretty's, Calle Jarnkrok's on the horizon. There's all kinds of different players that can come in. Alex Steves for another one. There's lots of guys around the tertiary of this lineup that can really come in and fill that role, which to me will be done, whether it's via trade or internally. And I really hope that we are going to get some trades. It's starting to get down to the wire. And it does concern me, and I will touch on that here in just a couple of moments. But something I do want to touch on is our friends. That's right, the Hockey Podcast Network. We partnered up with DraftKings, and the promo code, of course, is THPN. And it may not feel like it, but spring is right around the corner. You know how you can tell, golfers are hitting the links, and we have some tournaments to talk about. And if you want to do more than just talk, put your money where your mouth is. Get in on the T action with DraftKings Sportsbook. From Thursday's opening round through the closing round on Sunday, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with tournament props, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. If you've been bet on pro golf before, it's easier than you think. Just pick some simple golf or to win the tourney and then make your pick. It's that easy. Check it out. Go pick your favorite guy, pick the money line, and get him in there to win the whole thing and win yourself some bucks. And here's something special for first-timers, new DraftKings customers. Bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sports app. Use the code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers and get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for your problem gambling. Call 888-878-9777 or visit ccp.org. Play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus or age eligibility for jurisdiction void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see dkng.com/audio. All right, that's our friends over at DraftKings. Get over there. The golf season's around the corner. What are you waiting for? Hit that promo code THPN and let's get going. Speaking of getting going, a little bit of concerning going out of that Boston game. Chris Tanev crunched in the corner, left, and apparently left the arena with a sling. Not something you want to see out of a guy who basically eats pain for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and says, please, sir, can I have some more? So when this guy is hurt or banged up, you know it's legit because this guy goes in and out of the tunnel more times than a subway train. But this time he did not reemerge. He was out of the game. And like I said, after the game in a sling. Now, apparently he has missed the worst part of the injury. He dodged a bullet, so to speak. Looks like he's only day-to-day. Looks like he will be back with the Maple Leafs in a very short turn, which is good. The other concerning one was we were watching overtime. We're watching all of these players fly up and down the ice. We're watching Mitchie Marner score, but there's one guy that didn't come over the bench, and you see the camera pan to him, and he's holding his hand or his wrist. Now, I'm no doctor, and pray tell, hopefully I never have to be because I don't have the prerequisite skills to do so. But a guy like Mr. Willy Nylander holding his hand and wrist can only surmise one thing. He took a hefty slash or got the little pressure along the boards, slammed in and jammed that wrist hand. And now we don't know where he is at. Obviously, we want to make sure he's playing in the game tomorrow night against the New York Rangers. A lot of the Leafs elected to take some time off, obviously with the Four Nations and all the games and everything like that, taking a breather. So we don't really know the extent of Tanev or Willy Nylander. Will they miss Friday's game? Will they miss Sunday's game? We'll have to wait and see. There is a guy on the cusp of wanting to come back. But both of those players, hopefully it's not long-term. But if it is, and there's an TIR, wow, can't speak tonight, in there, you want those guys maybe to just miss the time right up until the time we call playoffs and use that cap space to do something fun with. Because why not? All right. Here's the unfun part about things. Ryan Reaves, we all love him. I don't know very many people that don't love the way that he kind of conducts himself in the room or off the ice and protects his teammates and has the fun attitude. I know he really hasn't been the scrapper that we're used to this season, but he is a guy that this team does love, and he's near and dear to a lot of these guys' hearts. Unfortunately, looks like he's going to be a cap casualty. I don't care what Brian Burke says. You dress them against the other team's heavyweights. Well, guess what? You're getting into the point of the season now where I don't think a lot of the heavyweights are coming out. There's not a lot of fighting, if any, in the playoffs. So I'm thinking Ryan Reaves may be a waiver wire casualty. Why? Because you have a guy like Calle Jarnkrok in the wings who is ready, and listening to Craig Berube just kind of stumble his way through the media landscape talking about it. Oh, yeah, no, he's ready. Yeah. No, he's good. Looks good on the LV, but he's got to still see the doctor and things and stuff, So basically, it's a little bit of media 101 here for Craig Berube, having to tiptoe through the tulips, so to speak, on the contracts and the cap and all that stuff so nobody gets stung. But if you read between the lines, Calle Jarnkrok is ready to go. Again, if this is a player, maybe they're just going to keep on the sidelines until the playoffs. I don't know. But again, if you move a Connor Timmins, Connor Dewar, and a Ryan Reaves, it frees up enough space, more than enough space, to have Calle Jarnkrok as a part of your lineup. If you're making deals, there's the other way to do it, right? You start including players. Maybe he's one of them. I hope he's not, because for me, he is a Swiss Army knife that can play up and down your lineup, play on your PK, give you some speed, and he's going to be hungry to show off and do some things. Is there a little rink rust there? Maybe, who knows? But for Calle Jarnkrok, he's a guy that I would like to see in the Maple Leafs lineup and would be a type of player most teams would trade for at the deadline to give themselves some speed, some depth, some penalty kill help, and a guy who's versatile through your lineup. Hey, we already have that. Why not bring him in? So I'm looking at that one there. Alex Steves, I do hope stays up. Fraser Minton, I don't think we'll see him unless he's a part of a trade. And I look at the Maple Leafs and say, hey, there is a lot of trades that could happen for this team. Now, you go through the big names. It's the Shen brothers, Luke and Braden. Somehow the Leafs want to link them up and get them both over to Toronto. That would be pretty cool. A lot of people saying the price right now for Braden Shen is way too high. And I would have to say I agree with that, but there is some term with the player. For me, if I'm going and getting what I want to get for this team, I'm looking for a Yanni Hakanpää-esque type defenseman, maybe with even more upside. And, one guy that does come to mind, and he's not a Yanni Hakanpää. He's way better. We just saw him at the Four Nations, and that's Colton Parayko. For me, I'd like to see that player with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I know, again, there's some detractors, but this guy plays physical. He's big. He's strong. He has more goals than the Maple Leaf D-line combined right now. You bring that in, and he's just another shot, and people will say, well, we have Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Morgan Riley. Well, if you can add another hand to that and someone else who's not afraid to lower the boom on a shot and also stick up for their teammates and play a big game, I bring in Colton Parayko. Another guy for me, and I'll beat the drum, I think this is the guy they're really going to get, is Yanni Gourde. And I think coming off the hernia surgery, I believe that's what it is, you're going to get him at a discounted price. I don't think he's going to get the full pop because teams will be leery about it. And if you're Seattle, you want to be able to get the most assets you can. Obviously, you're not going to give the player away, but you're obviously going to get something in return. I just don't think it's going to be what they expected, given the fact that he was off of that surgery. Obviously, guys need time to come back, get their legs underneath them. I'm thinking the Toronto Maple Leafs get a little bit of a steal of a deal there. For me, I'm looking to see what would happen if you add a guy like Yanni Gourde and then Colton Parayko on the back end. I'm fired up for those two. The brothers Shen, it's a great story. We love great stories, and maybe that's something propels the Leafs through the thing. Ryan O'Reilly, I'm not interested. You didn't want to play in the spotlight, and now you're talking about the fact that you don't like the way it's going in Nashville. You weren't for it here. You had your opportunity. You could have stayed. Your issue was with the coach. Listen, you could have stayed and tried to make it better, but you said it's too much for you and you left. I'm not interested in that player. You weren't interested to be here. Don't come now when things are more favorable to your liking. You should be here to begin with. Other than that, when I'm looking at other players for this squad, I mean, you go Scott Laughton. Love to see him as a Maple Leaf, yes. Again, price seems to be a little high, but the Leafs are going to make moves. Brad Treliving has to realize that this team is in an all-in mode. That win against Boston really was a stamp of, hey, let's load up and let's go. We will prove to you that this roster is ready to freaking go. Let's get the players. Now, the one big name everybody's thinking, hey, if Carolina can't sign him and he's available, was Mikko Rantanen. Can you imagine how absolutely disgusting the top six would be with Matthews, Marner, Nyes, Tavares, Willy, and Mikko Rantanen? That is just disgusting to levels that you couldn't even fathom. But the issue for me is you get one player. That would be all you would probably get is Mikko Rantanen when you want to be able to augment your forward group and your defense. To me, the Mikko Rantanen is a great, oh my God, sexy trade. But then you look at the other trades that you can make to probably make both sides better. I know a lot of people are probably screaming at me right now, James, the thing we've needed is more goal scoring in the playoffs. Fully with you. But if you bring in some of the names that I mentioned and a Colton Parayko type, man, oh man, that is exactly what this team would need. The goaltending seems sound. The defense is pretty A-okay. You add one more piece to that, it's over the top. And you add that third line center that the Maple Leafs are coveting. Everybody starts to slot in where they belong. And all of a sudden, you have a team that you're ready to go on a roll with. And I'm fired up for it. I want to know what you guys think, though. I always ask that question. So below the pod tonight, make sure you drop a couple questions. Make sure you drop a couple names that you think may be coming to this team. But I'm fired up for it. All right, it's time for the Boxing Rock Bearded Blue Warrior of the Week. And for me, it's going to be none other than Nick Robertson. This guy has taken his lumps in Leafs Nation. He's come off that Four Nations break. Absolutely a man of fire, trying to keep up with his brother, having his parents dual split TV screens, and the boys are scoring in bunches. But Nick Robertson, a lot of people saying upping his trade value. For me, I think he's upping his value for the Maple Leafs. He's upping his value and saying, hey, listen, last year when we were in Boston and everybody got sick, you wanted to lean on me and I wasn't there and I wasn't ready. Well, this season I am there and I am ready. The mental space is there. He's not talking about wanting to be traded. He doesn't want to be. He wants to be part of the solution in Toronto. And I like that. And I like the fact that he's got a little more pop to his shot. And like I said, Benoit trying to take him aside and also work on the physicality of his game. I'm all for it, man. Nick Robertson, you are my Boxing Rock Bearded Blue Warrior of the Week. Ladies and gentlemen, I beg you, jump on over to YouTube, hit that subscription button, go over to Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts, link up and make sure you drop a note. Let me know. I'll shout you out. I absolutely love the support. Let's get the show back up to where it was. I appreciate everybody tuning in. And you guys know the tagline here. This is Offside Hockey Talk, where the Maple Leafs and hockey come to talk.